Shall we start?
Let's make a beginning, please, sir.
I want to start with young Adrian. Let's go back into even like primary school Adrian. What was little Adrian like? Tell me about, like, was little Adrian quiet, did his homework and was good at his schoolwork, or was Adrian a little shit when he was young? Talk to me about that.
That's going back many years now. And it really puts things into perspective as to how old you're getting.
Yep.
You think back, you're like, cool. I was like, what, 8, 10, 12, pushing close to 25, 30 years now.
Yeah, man.
That's a lot of time.
We are old.
We are definitely old and only getting better. But to answer your question, no fucking difference to exactly how things would be now. But, it's so interesting, right? Because if you think about it, the similarities back then, quiet, no friends, a loner. What's changed? Not much. But, I guess growing up, were you at McLeod in primary school?
No, I was just at the high school.
Okay, so from year 7 onwards.
Yeah.
Fuck. Let's start from, because there's a lot. Because primary school for me, we went to St. Margaret's, which was close to our parents' place in Reservoir. And as soon as Paul finished grade 6 and went into year 7, I shifted from there and started grade 5 at McLeod.
But Paul is your brother?
Paul's my brother. He is the less sexier version of me.
Well, then.
So, everything was around Paul. Paul hit year 7, started McLeod College. But it's interesting if I think back with the vivid memories that we have of back then. Grades 1 to 5 were quite interesting. Everything you'd expect and imagine as a kid growing up in the 90s. Great friends. You'd bring friends over and have amazing parties. Macca's cakes and that sort of shit. Like that was the 90s, right?
Yeah, man.
And then you transition. Do you recall when McDonald's brought out? This is just off tangent.
Yeah.
When Monsters Inc. came out, the movie.
Yep.
Macca's brought out these fucking sundaes.
The green sundaes.
They're like bluey greenish, and they had they were hectic.
Yes.
That is the childhood right there. Anyways, that's how I think back of my 10 years of life. But transitioning to McLeod, it was, I don't know, you go to a new school and you expect to make the same level of friends. You expect people to kind of understand you. It wasn't really the case. And I think a lot of self-confidence issues surrounding being underweight, being skinny and having no confidence started to stem from there. People suddenly bullied you for that, whereas there was no bullying back at St. Mark. No one cared.
As primary school, people don't. I think kids are not even at that point of understanding like bullying people for fatness and all that. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah.
Depends the school. I guess McLeod was a whole step above.
Well, yeah.
And the transitioning to grade 5 and 6 at McLeod was different. You walk in thinking, yep, you're going to make heaps of friends, this, that. Definitely struggled to fit in, but I think I was okay with that back then. Gradually making friends and then whatever else. And then grade 5, grade 6, probably didn't see develop in the ways that I wanted to in terms of friendships and whatever else. And, transitioning to year 7 onwards, if we're going that far, man, that's a blur if I think about it. But those years, as rough as they were, probably weren't too much different from what grade 5 and 6 were, I suppose. Year 7 was, all right, cool. Things are getting real. You get into that stage of your life where it's like, pressured because you're growing up, you need to get a job soon, like get married. Oh, chill out, mum. We all cop that. We at some stage.
We did.
Still do.
We still do.
I still cop it.
I obviously, if it's not clear for people that are listening, we went to the same high school. We went to the wonderful school, McLeod College.
Is that still standing?
It's still standing, and apparently it's a much nicer place now. I think when we went there, it was a bit of a shithole in some sense. I think some teachers tried to make it better than what it was, but man, there was some stupidity and I don't know. I just remember people throwing chairs at fans and that sort of stuff.
Yes, they did.
And let's see if we can kick this soccer ball through as many windows as we can. That was the kind of school we went to. We didn't really know each other. Like I knew of you. I knew who, like your face, and you probably didn't know who I was.
You were what? 3 to 4? No, 2 years younger, I believe.
When did you graduate?
08.
I was 09, so it was only 1 year.
Fuck. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
I recall seeing you were the quiet kid, always in his jacket.
Was I?
You definitely were. Don't ask how I know that.
I was the quiet kid. I did used to wear the spray jacket all the time. I didn't like those freaking jumpers.
Fuck the spray jacket, huh? That was the name for it back then too.
I don't know why they're called spray jackets.
Weird. That's weird.
Because maybe they not get you wet when it rains.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Who knows?
But in any case, back then, I was also quiet. You were also quiet. Well, actually, I was quiet for the most part until I wanted to be very loud, and then I was very loud. But I was quiet for the most part. There was something that you brought up when we first met that I didn't know about you. And you're into games a lot. My brother's also into games. Tell me more about the games that you've played. I think you've told me you've played WoW. Is that right? You've played... what is the other one with the acronym that I cannot remember? That everybody's LOL, League of Legends. Look at that. I remember these things.
You did your homework beforehand.
Did you play these games when you were a young kid, or is this something that you started doing as you were older? Or when did you start getting into games more?
It was probably that age.
Okay.
It was probably choosing to be more antisocial during high school because I'd rather stay home and invest my time escaping reality by playing games in the forms of World of Warcraft and RuneScape and
RuneScape. That's the other one.
yeah, those some memories back then, you know. And if you think about it, it's like, you know, people would invite me to parties and stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, socially awkward, anxious. The idea of going to someone's house, I don't know, man, it's pretty terrifying. There were more things in the mix for me back then to push me towards that antisocial, keep to myself kind of point. Like, for example, I had really bad acne during high school. None of us knew shit about health and nutrition back then.
Nothing.
So, you know, here you are at the dermatologist and they're all like, here, take some Accutane. It might like fuck your brain a bit. Yeah, sweet. Cleared my skin. That shit turned me into a fucking potato to the point where I was so anxious, I couldn't even have a conversation with anybody. Family members. I recall my auntie, you know, asking me a question. And it's strange because that just depleted so many hormones in your brain to the point where you're anxious. But who knew what anxiety was back then in year 9, year 10? No one knew. You thought it was normal. I'd go to school and I'd question myself. Like, why can't I make conversation with people? Why can't I speak? Everyone else can speak freely. Something so simple. It was anxiety. So naturally, having that in play too, I didn't want to mix and connect with people as much. And then that took us through the next couple of years. I never even identified that that was the issue until many, many years later, right? So interesting.
Wow.
So it's like going to high school handicapped at being able to communicate. You know, it's almost like you're fucking disabled. Still am. But by the end of year 12, it hit the point where I'm like, I was so done with high school. I was ready to move on from the people, from everything. I won't forget the proudest moment of being done with like all the bullying and whatever else, and marking that point to be like, cool, this is time for me to move on. Last day of year 12, every single person was like hanging around for like the final photo. You know, everyone took that same photo outside in the courtyard there, facing, and some cunt like jumped on the roof above the D block or whatever.
Yep.
They're like, yeah, let's go there. I'm like, fuck this, don't want to be a part of this anymore. Ran to the train station and left. And from that point on, I never looked back. And that was the driving factor to start turning everything around.
Is that when you started getting into fitness?
That came probably a year after, a year or two after.
Talk to me about that. How did you first start getting into fitness?
So, finishing high school, what the fuck do I do now? Let's go to TAFE and uni because every single other person is doing it. The first year after high school, good old NMIT Preston, which is still standing somehow.
It is.
It is still. It looks amazing. It looks very clean. We drove past this morning earlier, and one of the workers who works like the front gate, it's like a real dykey bloke sort of person. They're still there. They were there 15 years ago, bro. Wow. Still going. Good on them. Anyways, first year of Cert 3 and 4, I'm like, yeah, I'm a nerd. Let's go and do some computer shit at TAFE. Sweet. Cert 3 and 4 in networking and programming. Finished Cert 3. Got through Cert 4. I'm like, this fucking sucks. Why am I here? Also found myself having the similarities with people like not wanting to connect or, you know, make friends. Dropped out. This is not what I want. What the fuck am I doing? Took the entire next week off. A friend one day was like, hey, I'm down in Melbourne. I lived in Wonthaggi at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the gym together. I'm like, okay. Took me, hooked, completely hooked.
From that first session,
It was a bit nerve wracking, the first session.
right?
Walking into 5-star peak hour, not knowing what to expect.
Of all the gyms to start at 5-star.
But I'll tell you what, I walk in and there's just those cable machines in the front there when they were there. These massive units just staring you down, like doing their tricep push. I'm like, oh, fucking shit. What did I get myself into? Walked in. I walked. My friend's like, all right, cool. He had experience. Fuck you, Joel. I'm doing my own thing now. See you later. I'm like, okay, sweet. Let's do this thing. I had no idea where I was, what I was doing. I ventured over to the toilets. I found the dip bench and I was like, all right, cool. I'll just do like 4 sets of 15. Did them very slowly. Went and found Joel. I'm like, cool, man, I'm done. Let's go home. He's like, okay. I was so terrified. I'm like, fuck. That was great. It was a good feeling, but man, that was the scariest thing ever. It just caught on from there. The next day, I went back myself during the day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Fell in love from that moment. The moment I got over that fear, and this is what I was talking about in my stories a few days ago, fear holding you back, it all just took off. I dedicated that entire year going to the gym, training, gaming, and enjoying life.
Beautiful.
All those years robbing my soul, having my soul robbed from high school, no friends, bullying, just started to flip from that point on. The routine and lifestyle, not ideal for back then. Train at 8, 9 o'clock at night, get home 11, 12, jump on league, play league till 1, 2 a.m., go to bed, wake up at 12, 1 the next day, do fuck all, wait until the gym, rinse, repeat. That was the routine for a complete year. And just starting to see things like results. My body in the span of the first 4 months, just, and I recall mum one day was like, your body's like really changing, yeah? And I'm like, is it? You don't notice these things. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm kind of improving. I have to find the really initial photos of the initial transformation. Fuck, man, things turned around very quick.
Were you also somebody who responded really well? I know you've told me that some people don't respond as well when they first started lifting, but it sounds like you were also the type who responded. Bam, in the first 4 months, you just blew up.
It's almost like you can look at a dumbbell and you just...
Yeah, okay.
But what's behind that, the driving factor as to why that change happened, was all the negativity, all the emotions. I was, for lack of a better description, going to the gym and beating myself up, right? All those negative memories, all the bullying, all the heartbreak, all the girls having no interest in you, all that was fueling me. And I'll never forget, this was like clockwork to me. I'd be walking out of the gym at 10 p.m., finish my session. I'd look at the clock on the way out and I would literally count how many hours until I'm back here. Just like that, like a row, like the fucking Terminator, bro. It's like, yep, 6 out, cool, bang, go home and just sit at home, like, cool, gym soon. And my entire life, like I said, just transformed from that point on, putting myself first as the priority. Self-confidence developed. And naturally, after a year of doing that, I went back to the exact same TAFE and I said, I'm doing Cert 3 and 4 because I'm changing people's lives, basically.
And you had all that motivation behind you from the past year at that point?
Yep.
Right. And you just smashed it out.
And all that drive. And to this day, that's the same reason why, I can push people to their limits and really delve deep into what their needs are psychologically too, and push them. We all have shit going on deep down. Those were my demons coming out. And, I guess converting that energy into good energy and investing it into me. And that's where, every whole life just changed. I think back to how shit those years were at high school. Life was never like that ever again. The following 5-10 years, a whole new ball game.
Have you ever, at any point since you started getting into fitness, gone, fuck this? Or have you, since falling in love, just kept going, just stayed in love with the whole process?
I think that whole idea of saying fuck it versus, being in love can also be explained in a way that people kind of talk about being motivated, being, versus being disciplined. On the days where you say fuck it, you're still going to go. because you have to. Whereas, people who probably aren't as committed are going to have those days, it's late, or excuse this, can't go, and not go. Whereas people like us, the dedication is there, you're going to go no matter what. So maybe here and there, actually no, probably not ever. After seeing the good it started to bring my life, the confidence, that kick-started my, health regime into improving things. I kept stopping the Accutane because my acne was not under control. And I noticed that whenever I started the Accutane, my brain would turn into a fucking vegetable. That's when I made the link that this shit was fucking me up during high school and I had no idea. Very interesting.
So at that point where you had fallen in love, you'd started, at least for a year now, you hadn't started, you continued on your fitness journey. At what point did you say, okay, I love this, I'm going to make a life out of it. I'm going to make some business out of it. I'm going to make some money out of it. When did you start PTing? Because I think that's how you first got into this, right? Did you get your certificate and go bam, straight in? How was that process like when you first started coaching and personal training people?
It was very seamless. I think people will have a much harder time in this day and age getting into that just because it wasn't as big back then. But for the most part, I finished Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and that was probably the end of 2012. I had a work placement position at Genesis in Bundoora, Old Faithful. And they pretty much said, cool, when you finish your Cert 3 and 4, come on board with us.
Gotcha.
So, was it the start of, December 2012? Was it? Sorry, December 2013. I started there. One of those years, can't recall. And Kevin's here crying. Hey, bud. Hey, don't cry, bud. Went straight into it. And it was interesting. First day on the job, you walk into the workplace, nervous as fuck. All those, young school kid memories of, having anxiety and being shy, just rushing straight back. You walk into a gym, like, fuck, there's people everywhere, whole new environment. You know no one. All the PTs are out and about training their clients. You're like, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. Or so it seemed.
Right, right.
Shit. Interesting. So you get in, you make a few, conversation, you chat with people, and then you start to realize how those particular trainers went about, their business. They've been doing it for years, so I guess they didn't really have the first year drive and passion like I did. Fucking cockies. I decided that, you know what? I'm just going to get in here. I'm going to do my thing, and whatever happens, happens. I hated the whole salesman approach. I'd be in the back of Genesis. I finished my last client. I might have had like 2 or 3 clients at this point in time. The boss would walk in, a very, very commercial guy. Get on the gym floor. Go and talk to people. Talk to members. No, I'm antisocial. Like, I didn't want to do it. I'd put it off. But I'd be out on the floor training my ass off in uniform, and that built my business. People would see holy shit, this guy's like really going hard. And, I had a few... posted a bit on social media here and there. A few people were interested, jumped on board. It all just started to take off. 1 client became 3, 3 became 8, 8 became 12, 15. Holy shit, like I'm booking out really quick. Although it wasn't all that easy. I wanted to quit probably 4 times in the first month. So when you asked before about quitting the gym, not so much the gym, but the PT role and position, that was breaking points. To the point where, all right, cool. You've just signed up. You've just paid the bond, $2,000. You've paid your first month of rent up front. It was expensive back then too. $325 a week.
Wow.
That's for 2013. That's a fucking lot of money.
Yeah, man.
I can't imagine how much it is these days. And so the gym, these gyms, mate, you sign the dotted line and you get fucking these ones. That's what happens.
Yeah.
We'll help with clients, this, that. So here you are, you're rocking up to a free session with a potential conversion for a 10 o'clock booking. You take this guy through a session, you try to sell at the end, and he's like, no, I don't want PT. You're like, all right, cool. You've got 1 more of those booked in at 5 p.m. Go home, pull your dick, whatever. You come back, you rock up 5:10, 5:15. Fuck, this person's not coming. Lots of that went on. I'm like, how do you do this? Like, this is so hard, so rough. And I went to Paul, my brother, who was managing Toll at the time. Paul, I can't do this. Like, I'm quitting. It's just too hard. I've invested so much money. No one's working with me. He's like, no, stick it out. Stick it out. Just do it. I'm glad I did. That's when things took off. Just took time, getting your feet wet, getting a feel for it all. And all I relied on to get me ahead of everyone else was my passion for training. That's what it all came back to. My results, my passion, what I did for me, what worked, that. And it's interesting because most of the PTs there at the time weren't really in shape. None of them could instinctively train with intensity and really bring the energy, which was surprising. So here I come, new kid on the fucking block, screaming at clients in a good, not like drill sergeant shit, encouraging them. Like, guys, let's go, energy. And people are like, wow, who's this guy? There was no PT like that back then, and business just...
You just sold yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
On that note of people not turning up, you have people booked in that don't turn up, puts you down and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure all of that starts to cultivate into a bit of, maybe it starts off as annoying, then it starts getting frustrating, and then you're working all these crazy hours, you're having to, personal train XYZ clients. I've seen, and you've told me this yourself, that it really burns people out really quickly. And I still think it's a problem these days because, like you said, who knows how much they're charging rent these days, gyms and all that sort of stuff. When was the first time you burnt out and got to the point where, okay, I need to change what I'm doing here because it's no longer sustainable? When did you first feel like that?
Great questions. That's really good. I would say when I was capped with PT clients in those first couple of years at Genesis, you get to a stage where you're like, I can't do anymore, but I want to do more. What do I do? Then I reached the period of, say, Christmas, and I promised myself no matter what, I would always take off 2 weeks over the Xmas period. Didn't do that last year, but things are different now. Because back then with Genesis, you could suspend your rent, so not get charged rent for only 2 weeks in the whole 12-month cycle. That's it.
2 weeks off and 50 weeks on.
Yep.
Sounds like a great work-life balance.
Fucking scam. So if you don't work, you're still getting dicked $300 for the week. And it's rough if all you're doing is the physical stuff at that point too. Anyways, it hit that point where it's like, okay, cool. I'm max with bookings. What's the next step? What do I do? I think at that time, 2 years into Genesis, my friends and I had been training at Derrimut in Caroline Springs down, in the west. That's when the announcement of Derrimut Thomastown was opening up, October 2014. And I was like, you know what? I'm going for this job so close to home, 30 seconds from my parents' place in Reservoir.
Right.
I'm going there. Fuck it. Fuck, the drama that came from this is just wild, bro. I've probably told you, but anyways, that gym popped up. I went there. I applied. They got me straight in, first PT suite. And I remember, I'll never forget this. Within the PT contract, it says that wherever location you were contracted, you can't do what you're doing within 5 kilometers of that radius.
At any place.
Anyway, within 5 kilometers of Genesis Bandura, I can't PT. Doesn't matter where it is.
Right.
And then, so I resigned from Genesis. I said, cool, I'm leaving. The manager was smart. He kind of had an inkling that I was pissing off. It was time to move on. I had a great, bunch of clients. They were keen to move, etc. They were all moving. Every single one of them came with every single one of them. Anyways, in the contract, like I mentioned, you don't get your bond back if you break the contract. Standard. And so there's a 30-day cool-off period. Right, so you resign. Once the 30 days is up, you get your bond back. Fucking system, mate. On the 29th day, my Genesis ex-Met boss sends me a screenshot of my PT profile on the Derrimut website. Hey, you're not getting your bond back because now you're PTing at Derrimut, which is 4.9 kilometers away from this location.
Wow.
100 meters, bro.
Wow.
Literally.
100 meters costs you $3,000.
2.5.
Oh, 2.5. Far
Gets
out.
better. So that happened. I'm like, it is what it is. I was going to go and do some unlawful shit, but it's all good. We got over it. Anyways, Genesis declared bankruptcy 2 weeks later.
Wow.
I'm like, you could at least give my fucking money back, you dog. But I didn't have it. So that was a whole new loophole into some other bullshit they were pulling.
Sure.
So that all went down. Got out of that. It is what it is. Moved to Derrimut. Prices came up. Quality of client went up. Better environment, better building, music. Oh, it was just, you're shifting now from health club, from fitness environment to, I wouldn't say bodybuilding style gym, but people who are more driven to train hard.
/ trance event.
Yeah, a bit of hard style too, but like people like yourself who go there, get shit done. Whereas Genesis, 2 in 10 people were there to just train hard.
Gotcha, yeah.
Very different. But I mean, I'd say these days it's very, very different. This was, 10, 11 years ago. So 11 years ago. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Times change.
Times have changed.
So that would be the transition and the next level of taking my business to that point of, doing the business stuff, increasing in rates and pricing, and being able to showcase what I can do, getting more familiar with social media. Do you ever go back on your old Instagram posts from like 5-10 years ago? Do you just scroll through and look at the content?
Occasionally, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Do you cringe?
Oh, yeah. You know what's the worst? Looking at your Facebook statuses from 10 years ago.
Oh, fuck.
That is the most embarrassing shit. I try not to do the Facebook one as much because it is literally like I look at it and just go, what were you thinking? Instagram,
Memories.
Yeah, Instagram I feel is a bit different because it's a picture, although some pictures are questionable, but man, Facebook was super, super embarrassing.
Yeah.
We're at a new gym, new clients, everything's looking good. You're getting much more familiar with social media. Mm-hmm. When does Adrian start doing online or start working with online clients? Because at this point, it's purely everything's in person, right? When does it get to the point where you go, oh, okay, I think I can train people online? Because not everyone needs the in-person training. Some people are intermediate to advanced. They just need that accountability and some guidance along the way. Mm-hmm. When did you start exploring that part of the world?
So Derrimut Thomastown kicked off, was it the start of 2014 or 15? One of those, whenever they opened. And that was, a good solid 2 to 3 years of doing what I was already doing whilst building my social media at the same time. 2017, one of my clients, she was just like, hey, can we do like some online stuff? And I'm like, yeah, we can. So back then, coaching was very different. Coaching was one email once a week.
An email?
All the contact you'd get from your coach, $50 a week. All right. So some of the funds you have to check in on your check-in day via email, send me all the stuff, weigh-ins, information. That's it. And that was the accountability back then. And think about that for a second. An email per week. There is no way in hell my business would thrive right now if I was emailing, all 75 clients once a week on a Sunday.
No way.
No chance.
No
Then
way.
It's evolved to the point where you need to be available 24/7 for problem solving, troubleshooting, information, everything. So that probably amounted to about 5-6 online clients, 2017. And if we fast forward a couple of years, we get to the start of lockdown, and I was still in denial that day that gyms were closing. Little did I know, I was training my last client, Alina, and I was just going to watch and listen to this. We had our last session. She was doing some front raises, and we're just talking about it. The gyms aren't going to close. What are you talking about? That was the last session I had at Derrimut Thomastown without knowing. But, fast forwarding once again, lockdowns hit. People were jumping on the online train. I was shocked because the online stuff shot from 5 clients a week to 30 out of nowhere.
Wow.
At a time where, money is kind of hard to come by, people aren't working, it just took off. So as shit as that time was for everyone, it was great for small business owners. And that is how I started to, improve my presence in the online field as opposed to the in-person PT stuff.
Both of us are business owners. We both do all of our stuff. I like to call it I like to call myself a solopreneur. I think I said it to you the other day. We kind of run the shop for our own businesses and do our own thing. And I find it quite rewarding. I really like the whole thing that I'm doing now. You know, I feel like I'm driving the bus. I feel like I get to make decisions. And when you get things right, it feels really good. There's some downsides to this. You are the ones, you are where it stops. Like if something goes wrong, it's sort of you're taking that burden. You are responsible for all of those decisions. Mm-hmm. How does someone like yourself deal with, you know, maybe you're sick or maybe you make a mistake or something like that? How do you deal with that knowing that you have like, I don't know, 50 clients who are asking you questions all the time? That must be something that I haven't experienced. I don't have 50 clients at once. It's a totally different thing for me. You know, when I have half a dozen clients on the run and I feel really sick one day and I say, hey guys, I need a day. I feel so guilty.
Yeah.
And most people are like, it's fine. It's totally fine.
That's a
take a
given.
day off. Take a day.
Yeah.
When you have many more people, I'm not sure I'd be able to deal with that. Walk me through what it's like when you're in those situations and how maybe you deal with that.
2-3 weeks ago, I had intensive gastro, as you know. Sunday night, I woke up, you know, having a waterfall from my rear end, 2 a.m. Monday morning. Worst feeling. 9 o'clock Monday morning, still battling the rear demon, dehydrated as shit, no energy. Fuck, this has to pass soon because this is rough. I'm going to lay in bed and do what I need to do because there are client updates to be done today. Could I have said to my clients, guys, I'm rooted today, I need a week off? Would they have been okay with it? Yes, like you said, 100%. But like you said, we feel guilty because work needs to be done. We're wogs, mate. That's all we know. I was laying in bed, 9:30 Monday morning. I'm like, just lay here. When I get some energy, I'm going to get up, go to my computer. Somehow, I scraped through on that week, getting through every single check-in. And, you know, there's less of an expectation for me to be at my peak level because I'm, you know, in the bin. So I just made mention of my guys, I'm not 100%. Bear with me, but we're getting it done. I scraped through that entire week. Don't know how. Started to feel better by Friday. So the Friday clients got the good check-ins where I'm happy and upbeat and like, let's go. Whereas the Mondays, I'm like, guys, I'm fucked, but let's go. Big difference. So, like you say, there is always pressure, good pressure. Pressure is a privilege, right? Yeah. But in that instance, you just find a way, I suppose. You can go both ways. If I was to take the week off, every single client would get it because they know that you're there for them 24/7. Always. But you know, maybe for the sake of other avenues of your business, you can't really show up on social media. You know, you had an idea to post this post or this story, you just can't. Because then you are bombarded by DMs you just don't have the energy for, you know. So you find a way, bro. That's my answer.
That's the reality of it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there have been a couple of times where I've, you know, said to a few clients like, look, I'm here, but like you said, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm saying I'm disappearing for a week because I'm so sick. It's like, I'm here, I'm just slow, I'm just, you know, I'm still feeling,
and that's okay.
But I'm still here.
Yeah. See, we think that isn't okay, but it is. It's actually okay.
I think
totally okay.
Because the clients are going to be like, it's fine. Everyone gets sick. Yeah. I think I'm going to push back and say it's probably not healthy for us to do that all the time, though. I think it does have to come to a point where you have to say, maybe I need to give my body a break.
Draw some boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't do a very good job of it this year, coming into like the Christmas period. And you also said you didn't do a very good job of it this year as well. So that's probably a lesson that we can both learn from. And
are we going to learn from that?
Yeah,
probably
I know. That's
not.
the thing that I think that's also the nature of the people that we are, in the sense that people who are going to be driven to run their own business and do that sort of thing are going to be the people who will just push through it, even if they're feeling a bit sick. But
yeah. How often are you getting sick though, for argument's sake?
Not that often. You know, like maybe like once or twice a year where I'm like, I need like 2 or 3 days of just rest. Like, you know, because if you're getting sick more often, something's up. You're not meant to get that sick that often unless you're like in the COVID ward at the hospitals licking things and
which we can do if you want. Why not make some fun out of it?
Okay. I have a fun question for you.
I like fun.
And I've stole this from Chris Williamson, who's a very, very popular podcaster who will never listen to this, I would guess. But if you had to choose 10 exercises, and they were the only 10 exercises that you could do for the rest of your life.
I've heard this before.
Yeah. This is excluding cardio and all that sort of stuff. You can do all your cardio, 10 strength exercises.
Okay.
What are those 10 exercises? And maybe give me a little bit of a why.
Okay.
You can have a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds to think of this. And you can use anything, machines, free weights, whatever, but you can maximum 10 for your whole body.
Okay. That would be a very simplistic answer. 10 variations of barbell curls. Duh. Come on, man.
Of course. Of course.
So this would be a bread and butter fundamentals, right? So you're looking at conventional deadlifts, because when you work up, and I'm not talking you go to the gym and do your 3 sets of 80 kilos. I'm talking you're hitting sets of 5 and 3 and a top single of like 260, 300, whatever, or 200, whatever. Even 4 plates is very impressive. So deadlift, because when is there ever a time that you are lifting dead weight, heavy as fuck from point A to point B? Not really ever. So deadlifts.
Okay, we got deadlifts, and it's just a standard deadlift, not stiff leg, not conventional deadlift. Okay,
Yeah,
here we go.
sumo's gay. Don't do sumo, it's gay.
We got deadlifts. All right.
Deadlifts. Then, not sure if you want to have any sort of variations here, but there would be a squat variation, obviously.
Okay.
You know, it might not necessarily be a barbell squat, but any squat variation, a close stance squat with maximal knee flexion, be it a pendulum squat right over here.
Okay.
Pendulum, we'll say pendulum.
Okay. We'll stick with pendulum. All right.
Then we're looking at, you know, a bench press variation. Most people steer clear from bench press because, you know, they have shoulder issues or they're afraid or I need a spotter. So I'll opt for dumbbells. That's fine. You know, then there's the argument of, I get more ROM on a dumbbell press, whatever. Do whichever one you prefer. There's not too much more to say on that. I love bench press. I love incline bench press. I would probably opt for an incline bench press, whereas most people would take the incline dumbbell press option there.
I would probably be one of those people.
And that is okay.
Yep. I just, it feels so nice. But anyway, okay, we're at 3.
Okay. Then we're looking at back fundamentals. I would insert a neutral grip chin up here.
Okay.
Okay. Neutral. So the handles above, neutral. Right,
neutral meaning this way, right?
Yep. Why? So you can get a full eccentric stretch like that, and then drag straight up.
Okay.
Right. Obviously, adding load over time. So weighted, adding a belt.
Sure.
Or if you're a cool kid, you can get a dumbbell between your ankles and
just hold it.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it makes you really cool too. Don't know why, it just does. So chins as your pull up variation. Then you're looking at some sort of upper back trap row variation. I'd be looking at a chest supported T-bar row.
Chest supported?
Chest supported.
So you don't have to think about anything else but the rowing, right? You kind of isolate that aspect.
So you can like caress and make love to the machine. It's supporting. Yeah.
Got it.
So you can get, we talk a lot about the eccentric load. So loading the thoracic spine.
Yep.
Via moving through the eccentric portion.
Yep.
Right. It's difficult without having it. The chest supported pieces are just much more ideal for that compared to, non-chest supported. So T-bar row would be up there. Then I'd be looking at some sort of pull down movement. This is movement number 6, I think.
We are, yes, we did
6.
Deadlift, pendulum squat, incline bench, neutral grip pull up, and chest supported row. We're
neutral grip chin up, sorry.
Yep. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, get specific.
Very specific.
Neutral chins and T-bar and some form of cable straight arm pull down.
Cable straight arm pull down. Okay.
So normally that bar behind me you can see is what people would normally use. Mm-hmm. I would use that same cable height with a single handle and drag straight back.
Single handle? I haven't seen that before.
Have I told you the story behind that? I don't think I have.
Tell me the story.
This is a fantastic story.
Oh, wow.
This goes back to TAFE, my first year of Cert 3 and 4 fitness. After having 1 year of training in the gym and thinking I was top shit in my course because I was the biggest cunt back then and having an ego from having no self-confidence the last 10 years. So we're in class, we're in Cert 4, working through the PT component. And, I'd rock up in a singlet every day, just, show off to the girls and the boys, whatever. And one day, my instructor, Paul, We were in one of the gyms, NMIT in fucking, is it Laylaw? Across from St. Monica's, I can't recall.
Sure.
Epping. Laylaw. And the whole class was silent and we're all running around training and Paul just yells out, Adrian, you've got no lats. Fuck, my ego took a hit that day. I went, sorry, sir? He's like, you've got no lats. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? Takes me over to the assisted pull-up machine. He goes, look, whenever you pull up, you're just engaging your rear delts. You're not contracting your back. And I was like, oh, fuck. And everyone was like, he's calling out the big guy. How's he going to respond and react to that? I was big back then. Somehow I was skinny as fuck. People were like, yeah, he's got size. Anyways, he took me to the cable machine. He put a single handle on it, put the load to the lightest ever. And like I said before, with the straight arm bar pull down, same hinge position. He goes, try this. Point A, point B. And I just went, wow, sir, I can feel my lats for once. This is amazing. From that point, lats started to engage with every movement. So essentially the body became one single motor unit. I wasn't doing my pull-ups, feeling just my forearms or my posterior delt. It was all lats too. So thanks to him, that's how I came across that movement, which is a bread and butter staple in every client's programming.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So do them because they're
you've
really
got
good.
a single arm, straight arm pull.
Single arm pull down, cable pull down with a single handle, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
That's 7.
Are we at chest supported row and T-bar row? Sorry, that's right. We are at 7. We've got all 3 more.
So we could add a hamstring movement here, but to be honest, conventional deadlifts blew up my hamstrings in my first few years of training. So I think what I would add here, shortened or lengthened position hamstring movement. What do we need? I would probably add a seated hamstring curl.
Just to put the pressure on, whatever you tell me in this list, I'm immediately going to put it together and post it and sell it as an online thing. So.
That's okay. As long as you charge $14.99 per sale, we're all good. Seated hamstring curl number 7.
Okay.
7. 8. We're missing arms. We're missing shoulders. Fuck, we can't even fit them all in. We're getting some...
Seated hamstring curl is your 8th. You've got 2 left.
Fuck. Well, obviously buys and tries take that. But if I'm gonna make this work, we need...
Calves? We
need calves, we need rear delts, we need arms. It's okay. Bench press looks after your delts. Bench press looks after your triceps.
Okay.
So we'll add a curl, standing barbell curl, nice and heavy.
Standing heavy. Okay.
Yeah. And number 10, since bench is looking after our delts and our triceps, fuck the isolation work. It would be a leg, either a seated, standing, or leg press calf raise. So all 3 ranges. So one of all 3, ideally, we can just pick one. Standing calf raise would be the play.
Lovely, mate. Look at you. You know your stuff, apparently.
I hope so.
You
get to this point.
You would hope so.
I mean, can we add more arm volume? I'd like to, but...
No, that's it, mate. That's the only 10 exercises you're ever allowed to do again.
You can't always win.
I want to ask you a question about a topic that some people don't want to talk about that I think you're okay with talking about.
You think you know me?
Yeah, I think I do. When young, mostly guys, ask the older, experienced lifters, let's say, and they ask, what steroids should I take? When can I take steroids? The usual answer is, don't touch them, shit house, bad for you, blah, 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 blah.
If you're talking to Karen, yes.
Right. What I want to ask you is, if you're speaking to a young chap who's been in the gym for a little while now, he's really dedicated, and he's been in the gym for 5 years, and he comes up to you and he says, hey, Adrian, I don't want to take steroids yet. I want to wait until I'm basically as big as I can be naturally, say another 5 years. But I just want to ask you now because I want to learn and I just want to know. Do you think or is it okay for me to start taking steroids if I understand all the things that can happen for it? Is it okay for me to touch that sort of stuff after sort of maxing out my natural size and really getting a great understanding of my body and learning all that sort of stuff? Is it okay at that point to experiment things if you understand the consequences?
If I said no, I'd be a hypocrite because You know, I'm saying, no, don't do it. But that's what we did back then. But since you've already, you know, said that he's experienced, he's got 5 years and probably another 4 or 5 before he starts, I'd say, yeah, I'd say go for it, bro. If I've seen how he's training, if I've seen his discipline surrounding food, the guy doesn't eat garbage. He has great digestion. He can push a lot of food and digest it comfortably, has great energy, has a brain. Sure. What is the likelihood that the person you have described actually exists and is going to ask me this question? No chance.
Pretty slim. Pretty slim.
Normally it's 6 months of training. What's a diet? Should I do it? In that instance, it's a fuck no. But this guy, yeah, by all means. You know, so this is all about having the training experience. This is all about being able to train intensely too. Because when you're on versus off, the training doesn't change. You can train harder because you have way more drive. You have this placebo of hormones and this rush of DHT. You're like, oh, wow, I feel like a fucking beast. So if you can't train with intensity beforehand, if you don't have, I would say, this always goes higher and higher, but I would say at least 3 to 5 years of experience. Or in some instances where some guys have testosterone levels that are tanked to the shit. You know, one of my friends started TRT at 19. You know,
wow.
Because his levels were just dog shit. He wasn't a functioning human being. He was depressed. He was sad all the time. He couldn't get out of bed in the morning. You know, and he's been on since. Am I condoning the use entirely? Not what I'm saying. Am I condoning the use at a young age? No. If there was an age marker, look, I started at 22. And, you know, to relate this to my own personal sort of history, I think what gets you to that point is the curiosity. Understand that back then, when I started, we had none of this. We had no education. We had no coaches to reach out to and learn and guide us and show us. It was just, you look on bodybuilding.com.
Bodybuilding.com, yep.
And the same cycle, 500 mgs of test E and AI twice a week. Go for it. So you link up with some shady dealer who sells you some fucking bunk shit that is heavily watered down, but you don't know. You're like, everyone sells good stuff, right?
Right.
Just like cocaine. It hasn't been through like 13 people already. Until you learn about blood work and realize that 500 milligrams of testosterone, injectable testosterone should give you a pretty good testosterone count on blood work. But when your testosterone comes back at like no higher than 25, you're kind of like, okay, something's not right there.
What did I just put in me?
Why are my numbers still in the natural range for 500 milligrams? Anyways, should I go through my experience and my first, all that? Is that how we're going to
Sure, yeah.
progress? Cool.
Go for it.
Okay, so that was pretty much my first experience. The Google said 500 milligrams of test a week. You buy it off some shady dealer. You think it's the real deal. It definitely was not. Did it give us great results and, whatever else back then? It did. What made me want to do it? Well, it's interesting. Me and 2 other friends who don't train at all anymore, plebs, I was cutting naturally at the time. I was 88 kilos and they wanted to go ahead and do it. I'm like, you guys go ahead. I was kind of like the experimental sciencey guy back then. They trusted me and, to kind of take care of it for them. Like, guys, do this, and you've got to be street smart, like no one teaches you where to get the syringes from. No one teaches you how to actually draw that shit out of a vial. How do you get bubbles out? Because that was important back then, not important anymore. So here I am cutting naturally for 4 weeks, dropping body fat and looking great. We'll post the photo somewhere here. I've got it. And then, me and my 2 friends meet up at his place one night, and like, we're doing it. Come and do it. Oh, cool. You guys do it. Spend a month or so. I'll see how you guys go. I'll gauge it off whatever happens to you. Anyways, within 4 weeks, here I am, eating flexible dieting with Nutella and getting lean. Seeing these guys blow up with strength and performance in 4 weeks, I just went, what the fuck? My jaw just dropped. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not cutting anymore. Let's go. I'm ready. So I started. And that was, I always had that interest in, being able to push your body to a point where it can't get to naturally. It's always intrigued me. That level of performance has always been cool, you know? Anyways, so that probably came with a host of other side effects and issues. For starters, the dose was way too high. The dosing frequency was way too little, so twice a week. Little did I know I was very estrogenic sensitive. So my conversion rate to E2, estradiol, much higher than everyone else's. So I was copying the issues. I was getting acne. There was never a time that I used testosterone. I don't use test anymore. That I didn't have acne on whatever dosage, 50, 100, always. So test, not the best choice for me. Anyways.
Right.
But, you know, did the whole 12-week cycle. You wait a couple of weeks for the ester to clear because that's what Google said. You run your PCT, you crash your hormones. You know, you're using Clomid and Nolvadex. Clomid turns you into a bitch because now you are trying to rebalance and stabilize your testosterone levels and your estrogen. After that first post-cycle therapy, I said, I'm never PCTing again. I'm never coming off again. So I said, if I do it again, I'm committing for life because this is what I want to do.
Wow.
I love how it made me feel. I love whether or not there was some sort of, you know, low testosterone figure to begin with. I do have the blood somewhere. I have to go looking for them. I couldn't read them properly back then. You know, it just fit with my lifestyle. It allowed me to, you know, get my bench press up from 80 kilos to 110 in a short amount of period. I had a horrible bench press, bro. My deadlift was always good. I could single pull 220 back as a natty at 80 kilos. My bench 80 for 5, if that. It was just trash. So that was my first experience. I PCT'd and went, this is what I want to do long term. I enjoy this. Then I guess we fast forward a couple of years, and the biggest motivator for most people is heartbreak. Right? Going through that experience with, you know, previous relationships, that drives you to want to improve yourself and flex on them. Be like, look at me, look at how much, you know, how good I'm doing, or whatever else you get on socials. And so I ran a second blast or second cycle, going a little harder. This is when I transitioned to Derrimut, and I could speak to people who had done it before, get some more information, what I should be doing. The specific blast from memory was around 600 EQ equipoise. Don't ever use that, kids. You don't need it. I think testosterone, probably the same, 500 D-bol kickstart week 1 to 4, and an Anavar to finish week 12 to 16, give or take. That was the full cycle. So from then, after that finished, I've got photos. We can also post those here too. I'm wearing a blue Gymshark singlet from memory, being a sick cunt. Didn't look like I was on gear back then, but you know. So that finished, and then I discovered, you know, blasting and cruising. So what's the method of not wanting to come off? Cool. You just dose yourself at a very, very low TRT rate so that your testosterone numbers are the high end of the natural range. TRT, cruising, you know, this can be as little as 60 milligrams testosterone, 100, 125, 150 to 200 is not a cruise. Your test levels are going to be 35, 40 plus. That's a blast. It's a fucking blast. All right. We understand. All right. And then it kind of just rolled on from there. Cruising, I can recall these like it was yesterday. The third cycle or blast, that's when I introduced Tren into the mix. So that was I moved to short esters, test prop, Tren Ace, Masteron. That was a wild time in life. I was not ready for whatever was coming my way. Granted, again, we didn't know much back then. We just got it, we took it. There was no, what's the optimal dose here? Just get it, take a mil of everything. 1 mil, yeah, sweet. We didn't think we could do a 10th of that dose and still be okay. So dosages.
So you were doing 10 times the dosage, or maybe, you know, you're doing 5 times maybe of these crazy amounts of,
give or take,
that you absolutely didn't need to do back then.
So for the listeners, 400 milligrams of Tren Ace, 500 odd test again, and about 400 to 600 Masteron. I don't even use a quarter of those right now. You know, I'm way more developed and strong and advanced. In the past, sure. But again, we just didn't know. We just took it because, fuck it, let's just do it. You know, and then obviously using Tren for the first time, you hear things about it, you know. I guess people would want to hear what it's like. So tren is all it's cracked up to be. But if you have some shit going on in your life, relationship problems or money or whatever, it will fucking destroy you. To a degree though, because that dose was way too high for me back then. Wasn't sleeping at all. That was 400 milligrams for reference. Nowadays, if I used 100 milligrams, it wouldn't interfere with my life. I can sleep perfectly. I'm not like fucking going crazy and being a paranoid motherfucker about this, that, who's talking to my girlfriend, shit like that. So yeah, dosages are important. And I cannot stress the importance enough of working with a coach who knows what they're doing. Back then, don't hire me. 10 years ago, I had no fucking clue what I was doing, but it's the experience of putting myself through the ringer, of knowing what works and what doesn't, and what's suitable for clients.
Which of these things that you tried do you think had the biggest negative impact on you? And I don't mean like, changed your life or something like that. I mean like what you said before, tren makes you overthink things, super anxious. Is there one of these that really just has the potential to really fuck you up if you don't know what you're doing?
So we can get deep here. I am a suicide survivor. This was driven by the use of a lot of recreationals, but also that high dose of tren was still in the mix, as well as a high dose of Accutane. Those things combined led me to take my own life because I felt like I had nothing left in that moment. Was tren the prime driving factor that led me down that path? It played a big role, as did the Accutane, as did the party drugs come down as well. So everything combined as once. And once that took place, when you survive suicide, you feel so embarrassed. I can't explain the level of embarrassment. When you inject yourself back into society after you've been in a mental patient ward, you really start to think a little, perspective. You can zoom out and be like, what the fuck was I doing? I would say that even before I had started tren in 2015, I was already on that reckless path that was going to lead down that route in 2016, where those events took place. No matter what, tren just kind of like sped things up.
Gotcha.
Hence the importance of, if you are going to run this stuff, you need to have someone who can keep you accountable, keep you in line. Your, partner or family surrounding need to know. People need to know. I thought back then, I'll be sweet. I can do it all on my own. But I'd say that combination of those drugs, recreationals from partying and stuff, was the biggest wake-up call to be like, wait, we don't need this much. What are we doing? Yeah.
I think you kind of answered the question that I was about to ask then. With regard to having people, so like family around you, people that know what's going on, don't keep things to yourself. My question was going to be, and I'd still like you to answer this if you can, what piece of advice would today's Adrian give Adrian 10 years ago? What would you, if you were looking at yourself right now, 10 years ago, what would you say to young Adrian now that you have this extra knowledge and all of the stuff that you've learned over these years?
Go and lay on your bed and do some meditation and breathe, motherfucker. That's what I would say. Man, we just got so ahead of ourselves thinking that more is better, more is good. And it wasn't even about the results from training back then. It wasn't. It was just like, more this, yeah, this, that. So it would just be, hey man, like, if you put this much effort into your training and nutrition, like you are so focused on these drugs, you'd make 50 times more of the results. Because it just became less about training. It became less about why I loved doing it. I still love doing it, but it was more about more drug this, more drug that. Pardon me. I guess it would come down to a dosage thing. That's when I started to seek out the help of coaches. That's where I learned a whole lot more. Mentors, people who taught me a lot. So yeah, it'd be you, like I've said before, you don't need as much as you think you need, and like if you invested this time and effort into your training, you'd make better results anyway. People still think, oh, you just sit on the couch and jab yourself and that's it, you fucking grow. It's like, no, motherfucker, I'm still busting my ass no matter what. But yeah, you don't need anywhere near as much as what you think you need. Number one.
Adrian, thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Today's been fantastic.
It has.
We will leave it at that. I'm sure we will do this again.
Mm-hmm.
For the people at home who maybe don't know you on your socials, where can people find you? How do they find you? Where are you most active on?
I am most active on my Instagram at Adrian Evangelou.
I will leave that in the description for people to find you. You're on the Faceballs as well.
On the works, mate.
On the works.
Google my name, you'll find me.
YouTube as well.
Most wanted men.
Exactly. All right, mate. Thank you very much. Today has been an absolute pleasure and we'll speak again soon.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
Cheers,
Peace.
bro. See you guys. Bye.